Training tips for older runners 35 and up. Well, people call them master runners. So if you're a runner over 35 wondering if age is slowing you down, or if you can still get faster, stronger, and stay injury free, well, I'm here to help you out. I'm Dr. Ray Peralta. I'm a physical therapist and run coach. And in this video, I'll break down what happens to your body after 35 and exactly how to train smarter, recover better, and keep chasing PRs well into your 60s and beyond. So stick around because I'll show you even how a 70-year-old runner can maintain the endurance of someone in their 20s with the right approach. So what happens to the aging running? So as you get older, right? Again, a master's athlete, someone who's over 35 years old. Some people define as someone who's over 40 when it comes to road racing. But these things happen in the body. Well, you notice a decrease in VO2 max. So there's a 10% decline per decade post 30 in people who don't exercise. Keyword, sedentary individuals, the couch potato. Heart rate max also decreases 5 to 10 beats per minute per decade. There's also a decrease in lung elasticity, elasticity, excuse me. So how the lungs recoil and expand to get air. Also decrease in your recovery, right? It takes you longer to recover between hard workouts. A decrease in your muscle mass and an increased risk of sarcopenia, right? So the age-related loss of muscle mass, but also bone mass that may happen. Decreased flexibility and bounce. You tend to be stiffer, less bouncy, more at risk for falls. But it's not all doom and gloom. A well-trained masters athlete in their 70s can have a VO2 max equal to an untrained 20-year-old. For example, at age 76, Jeannie Rice keeps just running fast as she's able to have an incredibly high VO2 max. She actually set a world record in the marathon in the 75 to 79 age group last year. And one of the keys to her success was just being really consistent with running. She was just very consistent, hardly any injuries. If I recall correctly, I think she trained consistently for like over 30 years or so. So, just putting in that much practice, that much consistency in the craft is going to make it so. So if you started in your 30s, you continue going to 40s, 50s, and beyond. If you stay consistent and following a smart training approach. So next, what you want to do. So if you're a beginner, first-time runner, you're like, okay, you want to get started with running, but you're a bit older, maybe you're 35 years old. I recommend getting a health screening. So sudden cardiac death does happen, unfortunately. It's extremely rare, but it does happen. Recently in the news, someone passed away in the half marathon. I'm from New York, so someone passed away in the Brooklyn half marathon. I think this individual's in their 30s or so. And the thing is, I'm not sure this individual's exact circumstances, but as a general rule, I recommend if you're like 35 and up, right, get a screening. Go talk to your doctor. Are you clear to exercise? The American Heart Association has a 14-item screen. You can ask your doctor to perform the screen on you. It includes blood pressure, asking you some questions about your personal and family cardiac history to make sure that, hey, you're healthy enough to start pursuing running, right? Because running can be a risky sport. And if you have some underlying heart condition, it could put you at risk. All right. It doesn't eliminate the risk completely, but at least you could, get screened and get something caught early on. Further, if you're over 50, you may actually consider doing a exercise stress testing. Usually this is typically done with a cardiologist or an exercise physiologist where they see, how much they can stress your heart to see what your heart's fitness level's at. And it's also, I still actually recommend it even for people in their 30s. However, understand not everyone has the access to like an exercise lab or a cardiologist who's going to do a test on them when they're in their 30s. Further, bone health. So women over 50 are at a 50% increased risk of osteoporotic fracture. So recommend getting a DEXA scan as a bone scan for postmenopausal women. Also, anyone who keeps experiencing reoccurring stress fractures, right? If you keep getting stress fractures in your lower legs, etc., reoccurring like shin fractures or shin splints and stuff like that, you're like, maybe you have some weak bones and we want to get that screened or checked out. So what's a smart training plan? Like if you're a master's runner, you're that 35 and up runner, what should you be doing? Right. At the bare minimum, you should be following the ACSM guidelines, American College of Sports Medicine and CDC. They recommend about 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate exercise, which includes running, or 75 to 150 minutes per week of vigorous exercise, which is just fast running or sprinting. So use zone 2 heart rate training. So 60 to 70% of your heart rate max for endurance, right? And this is going to qualify as that moderate So as part of the ACSM guidelines, but from a running perspective, it's considered like easy training. But for the heart, it's considered moderate. And so the zone two training, like at least 60 to 70% heart rate training, is going to help. I know it could be a bit confusing. I'm talking about moderate and easy, but you use the heart rate zones. You can look this up, zone two training. So essentially 80-20 rule, 80% easy, 20% hard. So if you're training 5 days a week, 4 of those 5 days will be at the easy heart rate zones, but you'll still get the benefits of physical activity of exercise to help your body continue to make improvements with running. So running frequency, right? If you're a complete beginner, just start with 3 times a week, or maybe you're recovering from an injury. And you could do run walk, of course, right? If you're a complete beginner, I actually recommend run walk, or if you're coming back from an injury, run walk, or even if you just like run walk, it allows your body to recover and decrease your injury risk. Sample weekly plan, you could do day one. So 1 day a week, you do speed intervals, for example, quarter mile or half mile repeats. Another day of the week, you do tempo runs or threshold runs at 30 to 45 minutes at zone three. And then third day of the week, you may do a long run, maybe a 6 or a 9 mile or 12 mile run at zone two. You might do little smaller segments for speed if you're working on speed. So that's like a 3 day a week schedule. And then obviously doing 5 days a week, you could do 2 additional days of like easy runs. Strength training, you should do 2 to 3 days a week of full body strength training. 1 set to failure, 8 to 12 rep max. Focus on exercise like squats, lunges, deadlifts, single leg work. This is going to help you just develop strength and decrease your injury risk and improve your running performance. Especially as you get older, tend to lose muscle mass. The strength can help preserve your muscle mass, or even maybe even help you gain muscle mass if you do the strength training correctly. Flexibility and balance, daily stretches, hip flexors, calves, and hamstrings for 3 to 5 minutes at any tight problem areas that you may notice. You may be a little bit different, or you may have these common areas I just described. Alternatively, you could do a longer routine. For example, maybe you want to do yoga 30 to 60 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week is another great flexibility practice you could add to your routine to keep you mobile. As we get older, tend to get stiffer joints, which may lead to injury. You can also combine balance with strength training, so you shall work on balance. So, for example, the single leg deadlift is both a balance exercise and could be a strength exercise, right? You could do single leg deadlift with a kettlebell, or you could do single leg squats. You could do single leg squats with a weighted vest, for example. If you think single leg squats are easy, try doing perfect form. Look up the pistol squat, doing perfect form pistol squats, 20 reps with like a kettlebell. It's a very challenging exercise, both for strength, balance, and even flexibility. The other thing that's important is nutrition, right? A lot of times as you get older, nutrition is even more important. Certain micronutrients or nutrients are very important: calcium, vitamin D, vitamin K. The recommendation is calcium, 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams per day. Vitamin D, about 5 micrograms, and vitamin K, 90 micrograms. Right. Best sources are leafy greens, tofu, canned salmon, fortified plant milk, and sunlight for vitamin D. For protein, you want to get at least 0.65 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, because protein is very important for its building blocks of the body, helps you recover between your workouts, both running and lifting. Key, again, for muscle mass and just strength. Right? And if you don't eat enough, you're going to putting yourself at risk for certain injuries and for bone injuries, for example, bone stress injuries, stress fractures. Same thing, you also want carbs. You also want to eat enough carbs, especially if you're training for marathons, long distance running. You want 3 to 4 grams of carbs per pound of body weight. It's vital for energy and recovery, right? Especially if you're a distance runner, you're going to perform better with carbs. Yeah, are there some people who could do low carb? But for the most, as a general rule, for most long distance runners, I recommend, eating enough carbs. Healthy fats, about 0.5 gram per pound of body weight. Helps with hormones, recovery, and vitamin absorption, right? So if you're not getting enough healthy fats, it's going to be hard for you to absorb vitamin D and K, right? Healthy fats helps you absorb that in the body. So the timing matters, right? You could spread out your intake of food throughout the day, or eat your foods, have like certain high carb meal around your run workouts, right? Your pre-fuel, like you're going for a long run, have some carbs during your long run, before, after, refuel, some protein after a strength training workout, maybe a protein and carb shake after a long run. There's many ways to do this. Just find what works for your body and your gut. Your stomach's very important for this too. Recovery and sleep matter. Right? You also want to make sure you're getting enough recovery and sleep, in for at least 7+ hours a night. So sleep is very important for hormone recovery, injury prevention, and just helps you adapt better between your workouts. So you continue to make some progress, right? So you're not being set back, right? Because if you're sleep deprived, then you're not going to progress, and you're like, why am I getting stuck? Often because you're just sleep deprived. And if you need to, add more rest days between your workouts, right? So you don't have to run every single day of the week, right? Sometimes you may need another day, maybe you need 2 days, maybe you even need 3 days between run workouts. That's fine. Everybody's going to be a bit different. Recovery is not weakness, it's a strategy to help you run for longevity. So age is a factor, but it's not a limit. With the right training, recovery, nutrition, and health screenings, you can keep hitting new PRs for years, obviously relative to your age group. I'm not here to claim that a 60-year-old is going to beat, the world record holder, a 20, 30-year-old runner, but they can hit PRs for their age group, right? So you could be, 60 years old and hit a PR and, dominate your age group. So if you want to keep running pain-free as you get older, check out my free training video, a link in the description. I'll show you how to stay injury-free and run strong at any age.